What's up, guys? Gersh1 here. Now, about a week or two ago, I posted 4 Greater Wall episodes in 1 week. One of them was the traditional Greater Wall with me and the Sound Alchemist, and then the other 3 were solo Q&A videos. And we've actually answered the questions for the first 3 because traditionally we just do 3 Q&A Greater Wall episodes a week. And then we just move on and we constantly answer the questions left in the past 3 and so on and so on. But that 4th video, that solo video, I never got to it. So this is that video of me answering the questions that you guys left on the video that was titled, "Can Salamanders Start a Civil War?" So for all those who commented, I'm going to be answering your questions, but just understand that the questions that you guys leave in the comment section today are not going to be answered next week. You can still ask questions because the community can still help you out and answer your questions, but just go to the traditional Greater Wall episodes, which come out on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and ask the question there. So let's get into the questions that you guys left from a week or two ago. This question comes from Roland Hampshire. I've just got back into 40K, so I bought the Tyranids starter set. Is it a decent purchase, seeing that 9th edition is changing things? I think Tyranids are a good... It's hard to say, I should say. 9th edition, we don't have the rules yet, and we are using the previous edition's rules for the majority of the armies, unless you're playing Primaris, because the Primaris, and the Necrons, because the Primaris and the Necrons, the new models already got their stat lines and everything has been updated, and we've slowly been getting leaks of like new things that are going to have new weapon stats, new unit stats, but we don't have the full 9th edition codex for the Tyranids, and it might be a while until you get it, so it might be a while before we even know that 9th edition Tyranids are good or not. It does seem that 9th edition favors close combat armies, so you are in a good point, or you're in a good spot by buying Tyranids. But at the end of the day, my advice has always been, if you're going to start 40K, if you're going to start playing the tabletop, number one, pick an army that you enjoy. Like, not just you enjoy the look of the models, but you also have to enjoy their lore. You have to enjoy the way they play on the tabletop. Tyranids are swarmy. They are also like giant beasts that you could throw at your opponent. So if you're into that kind of stuff, then the Tyranid starter set is excellent because it gives you a bunch of models, I believe. It's a lot of Hormagons or Termagants, I can't remember. So you did a good job by buying the Tyranid starter set. A starter set is always a good place to start. Whether it's going to be competitive, it really depends, and also it depends on you. Like if you want to go into the tournaments and stuff like that, then obviously don't get Tyranids. You should have just gone with whatever the forums online say is competitive right now, which will probably be Primaris or some form of that. But the fact that you're starting off and you're going to be going to hobby stores playing with friends, Tyranids is pretty good. So you did a good purchase. Welcome back to the hobby, and hopefully you get inspired by all of the cool Tyranid hive fleets that came out with the most recent edition, because you don't specify when you stop playing, but I remember 5th edition and 6th edition. That was back when we still only had 3 hive fleets, and now there's probably like 6 or 7 that have special rules, and then you can just create your own, which is pretty badass. So it's a good time to play Tyranids, and good time to just be part of a Tyranid army. But yeah, thanks for that question. Next one comes from Colin in Texas. That's where Joe Rogan's going to move to. He asks, have you realized your last lap dance was literally your last lap dance? Thanks, COVID. Not necessarily. I think I think we're going to get through this. Eventually this is going to end. Eventually people are going to start to realize that we can't live like this all the time, and lap dances will continue. Also, I think because we're American, I live in Illinois, and obviously you live in Texas, because we're in America, like in the U.S., I think that we have a vision of like COVID, without really understanding that there are some places that are thriving even in this COVID pandemic situation. Are people getting sick and dying? Yeah, of course. But I think the U.S. went a little overboard with the whole like just everything. I guess don't worry though. Lap dances will continue. The message that I'm trying to send to you. Next question comes from Teddy Bear Republic. When will you introduce the Nurglings who bark in the background? You could actually see them. I believe they are in the... If you check out our 40 facts on Chaos Terminators, at the very end, I show the giveaway box that I was giving away some Rubric Marine Terminators, and you see the dogs pass by. I have 2 border collies. One of them is short-haired, and one of them is long-haired. The long-haired border collie is named Mango, and then the short-haired border collie that you see pass by, her name is Penelope. And yes, they bark, and they're just annoying and smell bad, because that's what dogs do. But yeah, so you can see them there. Also, if you check out there's a video titled "Blessed is the Mind Too Small for Doubt," and then it says how to quickly paint orc boys. If you check out that video, at the end of that video, I'm giving away Indomitus box set, and while I was recording the Indomitus box set, one of them passes by. I think it's Penelope, the short-haired border collie. So you get to see her there. But yeah, thanks for noticing. And then this question comes from LaCroix Plainfeather. Will the Salamanders achieve the numbers thanks to the new foundation to become a factor in the universe? Salamanders did get a reinforcement of Primaris Marines. They're still under the same rules as the Codex Astartes of like 1,000 Space Marines. 1,000 Space Marines per chapter. Or is it per company? Damn, no. Oh, see, there, you hear them. The mailman probably got here or something. But no, the Salamanders did get a boost, but they are still limited to the 1,000 Space Marines per chapter. Sorry for the dogs. This next question comes from Artemis0200. Is the Sound Alchemist really just trapped in the warp? The Sound Alchemist is back. If you want to find out where he was, click on the link up at the top of the video. I'm going to be putting another video that will explain where he was. But yeah. Next question comes from Joe Nando. If Primaris Marines are 1,000 or 10,000 years old, some even have seen the Emperor when they were woke up. Were they indoctrinated to believe in the Imperial Creed or the truth? So I think it's a process. The Primaris Marines being created, it took 10,000 years, but they weren't like all created at once back in the day. Like they were, it was a process, and no, they probably didn't meet the Emperor, and they probably believe, like all Space Marines, in the Imperial truth, kind of. Like, the Imperial truth and the Imperial Creed are for humanity. Humans need to understand about, like, or it's important for humans, back in the Great Crusade era, it was important for humans to know that, like, churches, the belief in, like, gods, all that kind of stuff was not good for humanity. And then the Space Marines, the Emperor didn't care what the Space Marines believed. They had a job, they had a mission, and it was their mission to do, this. And obviously the Imperial Creed leaked into those beliefs. But at their core, the Space Marines are angels of death. They are the warriors of the Emperor. Their belief does not matter. The Imperial truth was created so that humanity can better themselves in that way, if that makes sense. So when you think like Space Marines believing in something, well, they believe that they are the defenders of humanity. How they do that? Through war, and that is their purpose, and that's about it. I hope that answers that question. Next question comes from Suliver Vittles. How much patron needed to get a new camera to fix the dead pixels on the bottom right? So that would be here, right here. I mean, I'm not in the market to buy a new camera. I shoot with a T3i. It's a pretty old camera. I think I got it back in 2011 or 10. No. Probably got it in 2013. And it works fine. The mic jack broke, which is why we use these now. But yeah, I'm not asking for a new camera. If you guys want to support us on Patreon, it's just $1 a month, and thank you for that. And we usually use that money to do giveaways, which bought the Indomitus box set. But yeah, I mean, eventually I'll get a new camera. Probably one that like shoots in 5K, so you can see all the beautiful details of me and the Sound Alchemist. No. Next question comes from the real B-Sun. Do you make army lists from canon or just pick and choose favorite OP units? Definitely my favorite units. I go on to Battlescribe and I choose the units that I want to play with. And obviously the ones that are good on the tabletop. I hate losing. That is still something that I think most 40K players can agree upon, that like fluffy games are fun, like the ones that you base off of the lore are fun, but if you're losing, or if you know you're gonna lose, why even play? Like if I came into a battle, because I play orcs and that's the army that I usually always bring to the tabletop, if I brought my orcs and I had to kill a cons list, like it doesn't matter who I'm playing against, I know I'm gonna lose, so why even play? So it's one of those situations where like, no, like I choose my favorite units and the units that do well on the tabletop, usually not from canon. And those are usually orcs with rockets. They're the best. Next question comes from Michael Hesenfratz. In reference to Tyranids / old ones, what do you mean the old ones have a deleted or cancel button? Oh, so there's a theory out there that the old ones created the Tyranids. Well, let me go back. So, in the beginning, 60 million years ago, the old ones and the Necrons were fighting in the war in heaven, and in order for the old ones to fight the Necrons, they created warrior races. That's where you get the Orcs, the Eldar, blah, blah, blah. And then because they were psychically powerful, they attracted these things called enslavers, and then the enslaver plague happened, which they're basically just demons that pop out of your forehead, and they just consume everything, and they made the warrior races, so the orcs and the Eldar, and other warrior races, made the warp just completely like chaotic and like bad because of all of the violence from the war in heaven, and they left. So the old ones decided to leave. So they're like, oh, we fucked up, we're gonna leave. And then the Necrons decided to hibernate, and then the warrior races were left, and the rest is history. And the theory goes that when the old ones left, they left the Milky Way galaxy, they eventually reached another galaxy, and since they already they were already into building life and creating warrior races, they probably created the ultimate warrior race, which is the Tyranids, and they launched the Tyranids to the Milky Way galaxy because they knew that they needed to wipe out the warrior races that they created from the war in heaven in order to basically paint the entire galaxy with a clean slate. And then once the biomass is consumed and all of these biological components that exist in the Milky Way galaxy are consumed by the Tyranids, then the old ones can press the delete button or the cancel button on the Tyranids, and the Tyranids somehow self-destruct. Now again, this is all a theory, and then because the Tyranids have not only consumed all of the biomass, but they destroyed the Necrons, they destroyed the Orcs, they destroyed like humanity, and then the old ones can come back into the Milky Way galaxy and start from scratch, or start from the beginning, without having to worry about like, oh, eventually we're gonna have a war in heaven, blah blah blah. But yeah, that's just theory. We'll see if it actually happens, and yeah. This next question comes from Super Fire. What are your favorite missing Primarch theories? I don't know too many of them. I'm trying to think right now. I mean, the fact that, like, I think the one where it's like, the Primarch, one of the Primarchs, rebelled against the Emperor, like he was truly the first individual, or the first Primarch to just completely like deny the Imperial truth, and was already corrupted by chaos, is probably my favorite one. But I don't know, I really hope that Games Workshop never gives us the actual outcome of the missing Primarchs, because that's for us, the players, to build our own Primarchs off of. Oh, there's a giant botfly. Or rot fly. It just fell. No, it's flying. But yes. Thanks for that question. Next one comes from Wereking. Do you think that over time we will see Primaris Marines in the Legion of Damn? I think they will add those in. They will add those in over time. Also, maybe they will release models then for the Legion of the Damned. Technically, they shouldn't, because the Legion of the Damned is supposed to be a snapshot of the Fire Hawks who got trapped in the warp a long time ago. So the fact that if the Legion of the Damned get Primaris Marines, then you have to ask like why, how? Like these guys are supposed to be like living saints. They're supposed to be the demons of the Emperor as he is becoming a god, or they're just like somehow warp tainted but still loyal to the Imperium and can teleport and be in two places at once because of the powers of the warp, but it's only them. It is only that specific company that is able to do that. So hopefully they don't, because then that ruins the lore, but I do hope that they get models. You don't have to call them Primaris. You can make them to be actual size, but yeah, you don't have to call them Primaris. So we'll see what happens. Another question comes from James Carden. Does the act of reflecting the window amplify, dampen, or transform the warp properties? Is it more influenced by Tzeentch in his mirror maze of lies, or Slaanesh with her obsession with visual perfection? Love the channel, keep it up. Thanks. And I like how your thumbnail is Timmy Turner's dad with tattoos. Looks pretty cool. So what you are referring to is the fact that you could see the window right here. The window's actually over there, and the mirror is just reflecting the window. For all those that don't know, the window has always been a part of the channel. It is basically a warp gate for us. That is how we enter and leave real space, or the warp, depending on what you believe and depending on where you think we are. But no, it actually weakens it because it's a reflection. Therefore, it's not as chaotic. Those are facts. Thanks for that question, though. Next question, if the laptop works. There you go. Next question comes from the boy ninja. Woof, woof, woof. War, woof, woof. You must be a Space Wolf player. Next question comes from nerf.zombiemicula. First question is, which Primarch would you want to become a loyalist from the traitorous Primarchs? And which Primarch would you make traitor from the loyalist? I've always wanted to see... we'll do the Primarch. Who do I want to be loyalist that is a traitor? I've always wanted to see Angron be a loyalist. Angron being just like a badass close combat dude would be really cool for a tabletop. I don't initially because it's like Lehman Russ kind of, and the Space Wolves, and the Space Wolves are supposed to fill that role. But I think the fact that they're like Vikings and they're connected to wolves and stuff like that, it's like, oh well, I don't really like that theme that much. So just having like straight up berserker loyalist sounds badass. And who would I want to be traitor that is a loyalist? I think Ferrus Manus. I think like having Dark Mechanicus Space Marines sounds badass. So I'll definitely do that. Next question is, or he has a second question. If the Big E is becoming a god because people are worshiping him, could the Omnissiah also manifest as a god in the warp? Maybe. There's also another theory that, well, we'll see. That theory probably doesn't make any sense now, but there was a theory that worshiping the Omnissiah was really just empowering the Catan that lives underneath Mars, which is the Void Dragon. But we already have a Void Dragon model, and I don't know the lore behind that Void Dragon model because it's supposed to be a shard. And from my understanding, it's supposed to be a full-fledged Catan that the Emperor fought. The Emperor fought a god and defeated it and entrapped it underneath Mars. But we'll see what happens with the new lore. So, in theory, yes, but at the same time, the Omnissiah, I think there are less tech priests that believe that than there are humans that just believe in the Imperial Creed. Because even the Imperial Creed teaches that the Omnissiah is still just a manifestation of the Emperor, and some Forge Worlds have to believe that. There's a schism about that. There's a schism within the, what is the Adeptus Mechanicus religion called? I forget what it's called. Comment down in the comment section below. But there's a belief that the Omnissiah is not, the Emperor is the Omnissiah, and then there's those people that believe that, like, no, the Big E is not the Omnissiah. They're two separate entities. So yeah, check out our 40 facts on the on the Adeptus Mechanicus or Tech Priests. I go in depth and talk about that, or our 40 facts on the Machine Spirit. I also talk about that in there. But yeah, those were the questions for today. Thank you guys so much for sending those questions. And like I said, Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, we have Greater War episodes where me and the Sound Alchemist answer these questions. And hopefully we'll talk to you then. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Oh, if you could put my